Hello there, Frank. Let's have a look. The issue of intellectual property has grown in importance, especially since the inception of the internet. You're a genius, Frank. Good first sentence. Some people consider that implementing laws in this area is mandatory, whereas others consider that excessive regulation may have negative implications. This essay will discuss both sides using the internet and music creation as examples, check your spelling, to demonstrate points and support arguments. Good. Capital I for internet. Intellectual property guarantees an equality. Okay, when essays are so good, I often question whether they have been written in 40 minutes. If you're doing both your task 1 and your task 2 in an hour, you've got nothing to worry about. If you're spending 2 hours writing them, it's time to reduce that. Okay, it's time to reduce it down to an hour. Anyway, let's carry on. Intellectual property guarantees remains an area where freedom is warranted through copyright regulation. For this reason, creativity cannot be under the control of powerful and unscrupulous companies. For example, in a recent conference in Los Angeles, gathering applications and software developers. Okay, no, just delete that because it's clear and I know what you're talking about. A recent conference in Los Angeles, or a recent technology conference in Los Angeles, young graduates were reminded that without regulation laws, they would not be paid for the job and could not have enough funding to develop their own business. That is why they applied for patents. Thus, a business industry with no legal control would not be allowed new talents to emerge. Okay, would not allow new talents to emerge. Okay. On the other hand, with the capital O, excess regulation may limit a large diffusion of any cultural activity. This is especially true in music, where new artists profit from new electronic media with less copyright pressure Okay, now what has happened is that it's quite a complex argument that you're going for, and it's much more difficult to express and to communicate a complex argument. Okay, I mean, it's difficult for a native English person to put a complex idea down into writing. So for somebody writing in a second language, it's even more complex, and you're running the unnecessary risk of not being understood. Okay, and the reason you wouldn't be understood is because it's a complex argument, difficult to communicate, and the sad thing is there's no extra points for writing a complex argument or an intelligent idea. If you just go for a simple idea, a simple argument that's coherently expressed, bingo, you're going to get points, okay, and you're going to pass. So try to go for more simple arguments that are easier to express, okay? Artists' creations are duplicated for free on the internet, which ensures a larger notoriety. For example, spelling, MySpace, one word, or YouTube are very powerful and new websites that have considerably transformed the music industry by giving opportunity to broadcast music. Okay, to broadcast music from new bands, all right, out of the traditional network with no copyright infringement. Okay, very long sentence, quite a complex idea. Well, it's not the most complex of ideas, but it could have been expressed in a much more eloquent, simple way, okay? Therefore, in some cases, the abolition of regulation laws may have positive implications. And there's nothing really there to do about abolition of laws. You're talking about new software, new media, okay? And you haven't really talked about scrapping any of these laws, all right? So, bit of a disconnection there, all right, Frank? Go for simple arguments, okay? And remember, you're basically repeating your argument 3 times, all right? This is a because, then you say it again in the real world terms in the example, then you say it again using your synonyms with your therefore sentence. And this makes sure that it's crystal clear for the examiner, okay? To conclude, even if regulation laws are necessary to avoid that all creations become under the control of companies, this could have been said a lot easier. To conclude, even if regulation is necessary to avoid creations coming under control of major companies, it should not be forgotten that an excess may interfere with the emergence of new talents and ideas. Genius. The legislator must, in this matter, follow changes related to the emergence of new media. Okay, now what I was doing there was just eliminating words that were not exactly necessary and just trying to write in a much more succinct fashion. Okay, so have a look at the end of the sentence guide and you'll see more information about that. Okay, the paragraph shows the source of food intake among men in the UK by age and type. Okay, very good, full stop. Dairy elements represent the first origin of calories, or the primary origin of calories, at just over 40% among young people among 0 to 24-year-olds. Full stop. This value decreases sharply after 25 to reach nearly 20%, finally ends at around 15% for this subgroup. Meat and pulses and vegetables are almost at a similar level, near 20%, for the younger males. Okay, because you've jumped age group for these two, I guess, and then you've just jumped back to the category of meat and pulses, so you just need to make sure it's clear. Okay, for the 25 to 49 group, meat is the main source of calorie and contributes to half of the total intake, followed by dairy products after 50 years old, and then we should have just mentioned maybe vegetables and pulses represent a similar amount at roughly 20% or whatever it is. After 50 years old, the distribution is significantly different. Pulses account for the majority of the consumption at over 60%, while vegetables are the lowest. Overall, it is clear that the type of food intake is changes in relation to the age of the consumers, with significant changes over their life, Furthermore, vegetables are not the favourite for any age group, regardless. Incidentally, vegetables are not a preferred calorie source for any age group. Okay, because then we're just also noting there's a small exception there. Okay, right then. Good work there, Frank. Keep on improving. Well done for doing the overall sentence there and the almost neutral first sentence there. It's fantastic. Okay, and we can save our ideas for the main body paragraphs here. Good separation there. Just need to work on some of the prepositions and the structures for your task 1. But we're doing good. We're doing good. So remember what I was saying. Make a list of all the errors. Send them with your next 2 essays, and let's keep on improving. Fantastic work.